space, we need to ensure that our students feel safe with us, ensure that our students feel connected to us. And yes, we take care of them and we, house them and feed them and such, but emotionally, there's an art to really tending to your students in that emotional range and in that space where we feel super connected. So, in order to get there, we really today are going to focus on communication. I'm gonna go through a lot of slides. They're really quick, not a whole lot of words, but and I would say a lot of it is probably not rocket science, but it's good for us all to take a step back once in a while and kind of go through parenting and communication 101 and make sure that we have our foundations squared away in terms of our understanding of, the best engagement tools we could use to connect with our students and create that safe environment at home. So I'm gonna see if I can share. Hopefully this works. Okay, Kay, can you see my screen? Yep. Okay. So let's see. I'm gonna minimize this window right here that's on my screen. Oh, did I just jump that down? Sorry. Okay. All right, here we go. Okay, I switched my screen up. Can you still see the screen I'm sharing? No, let me stop again. Sorry. Try this again. Good?
Yes.
Okay, go. So, it's some of this feels like common sense. Please bear with us because it's really about a big picture. When all of the engines are firing and all of our skills are in tune, that's when we become the most efficient in communication with our family. So, everything's dependent on communication. Our relationships are dependent on communication. When we talk about healthy communication, we define it as a way to hear and be heard effectively. Really, that two-way engagement. Um, you know, we know that all kids matter, but it's not that they don't all feel like that. And so it's important for us to let our students know that they do matter, and that seems very simple, but not only do we say it in our words, but our actions and our behavior and our support for them. Um, it's not uncommon for students to feel like they're not heard. Nobody cares about them. No one hears them. No one understands, or maybe they don't feel like they don't even matter. There are kids that feel this way. They feel stupid. Maybe their opinion doesn't matter. This whole self-concept is pretty um, negative for a lot of our students. And while there's not a situation here where there's like a placing blame, it's important for us to tune in with our students and make sure that they do feel heard and connected, like I said. Um, so when we talk about communication, we have kind of an example of how, ineffective communication leads to miscues and failures in social situations. So we have a girl who, example here, who was not included on some Saturday night activity. She reaches out to her friends but all she really says is something like, "Thanks for not inviting me," maybe sarcastic, but it's cool, don't matter, whatever, 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 and brushes it off. And when those are the tools that students are using, they're really not advocating for themselves. Our students are not, it's not cool. It's not okay. Your feelings do matter. And a lot of what we talk about is same for families as well. When we talk as parents, when we look at ourselves as parents, working with our students, we really do have feelings too. And it's okay to show our children that we have feelings and like, this makes me feel this way when this happened, right? A lot of what we talk about today is about the degree to which we allow our intentionality to drive our communication and not allow our emotionality and whether frustration or anger we may have. Um, so this is an example where, there was some very passive communication. A young person didn't have the skills to advocate for themselves, and things don't get resolved. Things are not better, problems not solved, and feelings aren't addressed. It's really important, I think, and I know this, we all have to step back sometimes and realize and remember what it feels like to feel hurt or frustrated, because one of the tools that we need when engaging with our students is empathy. And it's one thing to know inside yourself that you love your children. It's one thing to empathize with your children when they may be going through something. It's another thing to show that to them. And they need to see that we feel empathy for them when they're bringing something that is stressful. When they're bringing something to, we want them to bring even miscues to us. Maybe if they made a mistake, maybe they got in trouble and they bring it to us. We want that place to be a safe space to talk about it. Sometimes there are consequences, I get it, but us being in that space where we're not so emotional that we can't really lean in and express empathy and feel their pain. This is just another example of an individual who wanted to go out with somebody but didn't know how to do it. And in relationships, whether they are like maybe romantic or whatever, or engagements with our families or friends, if we can't pull together concrete language on what it is that we would like to do, what we want, we're not going to be successful in getting our needs met. And that goes both ways when parents and students. Um, This is another example of, a student is told no, basically denied access to do something over the weekend. Student gets really angry, maybe punches a hole in the wall. Um, these are all examples of not only miscues, these are all examples of challenges with communications. They're still fundamentally examples of students getting angry about things and not being happy. And we want to make sure that we are providing a place for our students to it's okay if they're angry. Angry is okay. Frustration is okay. Sadness is okay. It's really about how we express. And then that goes back to the whole point of what we're talking about in terms of um, do they have the communication tools to advocate for themselves? Communication is made up of many parts. Huge one, body language. 90% of communication is nonverbal. So how a person uses their body often is much more than the words, because we could say all the right words because we're bright parents and we know how to engage with our students. But if they see something different on our face that doesn't match, if they see something that's not empathetic, if they see the words, hear the words come out, but see something different on our face, they're gonna kind of lean back and not feel like this is a connected moment or space. Um, you know, we can talk about coming up all the things we don't want to do. They're not rocket science, but they're all things that I know I failed at before. Whether I've been so frustrated at my children that, I'm crossing my arms, or I've rolled my eyes, I've turned away. Um, I mean, the affect, it happens. We get emotional and these engagements do occur. Our job is to make sure that we're monitoring ourselves more effectively. And as we talk some of these slides later, sometimes we need to take some space back to make sure that we are using the right words, using the right body language and tone, because if we respond when our emotions are high, scientifically, our body chemistry changes. So if emotions go high, our thinking and reasoning goes low. Our ability to be targeted and what we want to say goes low. So we need to wait till emotions are in a space to where we can connect with our students and say what we mean and mean what we say and be intentional. Yeah, so there's lots of body language that we want to watch. Sighing, pointing, obviously. Now, there are also positive body posture or body language, right? We want to kind of keep our hands in front of us. We want to shoulders forward and really have a sense of calmness. Nodding lets people know that we're hearing them, we're listening to them, facing them lets them know that we're engaged. I know there have been many times where so I have a 20-year-old and a 21-year-old, and sometimes they still remind me of 14 and 15-year-olds, but they will come at me with like what happened or this or that. They're telling me a story and I'm like, I want to get a word in. It's helpful for me to keep my mouth closed, even if I disagree with what they're saying, and let them say what they got to say. They need to know that I'm willing to hear them out. That is the definition of a safe space. If I have to lay something down, my student is really frustrated, I still need to hear what they say. They still need to feel safe to advocate. They may not go that way because, we are the parent, we have to make choices and such. But these kind of micro interactions, while a student still may go away frustrated from the engagement. One thing that they're not thinking is my parent doesn't like me. My parent thinks I'm an idiot. No, I'm the parent. I love you. I'm probably gonna have to say no to this or whatnot, but that your body language is they're watching it. Um, I said sitting up straight, leaning forward. Scream where's it at? There we go. My picture, it was too big, too big. So, like it said, 90% of communication is going to be your body language. Um, yeah, this is really, so we have things we want, behaviors we want to demonstrate. We have the desired behaviors we'd like to see. Sometimes our students are not demonstrating the desired behavior or communication style. We want to be patient with them. I get it. Sometimes we need to back out and step out because if students, our children, maybe really spin out too hard and they're getting way too emotional, we might need to stop it because, hurtful words, mean engagement is not helpful. Obviously, parents, we that's something we don't want, but especially with our students, we want to give them space to be who they are, feel who they are. But again, there's a line. So we don't, as parents, we still don't need to subject ourselves necessarily to abusive kind of responses. We can still draw those boundaries. Another feature, communication is tone, the way you sound. Um, a negative tone, making sounds or talking in a way that can cause harm to a conversation, we definitely have those inflections we got to watch. Um, Talking louder, using too much volume, we can easily make a student feel small, impacts the sense of safety. Um, it's not it's not that we got to talk loud to be heard. Our students can hear us. Talking overly quiet could shut down conversation. It could appear even passive aggressive. It could be patronizing. Really matching is what we really look for, matching a really calm tone, bringing our students down and making sure we stay there with them. Using snippy tone, talking with attitude. We all know, yeah, you shouldn't do that. We shouldn't talk like that to our kids. Why are you talking about this, Earl? Well, I think the point of so much of what we're talking about here is that it's easy to say all these things and know all these things when we're calm. But when we're in the middle of our student doing something that we've asked them to do a million times, our emotions go up, thinking goes down, and we might get a little snippy. When something happened at school and we're finding out about it, we may go up here and it's really common and everyone does it. I've done it too. It's good to take a step back and think about all the things that I do want to do, positive body language and have positive tone when these things come up. And probably everybody's on this Zoom because there have been some things that occurred with their kids. Like we got to figure out how to engage and how to fix this and how to have conversations. And these are the nuts and bolts that we're talking about. Um, this is about matching tone. We want to really match where our students at, and not only the vocal tone, but I mean even like if we're standing over them, we want to get on level. I know that there are some people on the Zoom that have young children. I know we have some families that have high school. So I'm understanding that those are those varying developmental levels on the Zoom today. The final big component of healthy communication is about the actual words that we say. This is really important. It's important to say what we need to say, not necessarily what we want to say. I think what we need to say is this. Sometimes what we want to say is this because of our own experience, maybe because of things we've been dealing with as a student. This is when lecturing starts to happen. This is when we start making it about us and how upset we are and then kind of blame could even jump in. So really, if there's some kind of conflict, if there's some kind of dialogue, we really need to focus on what are the things that we need to land on that is going to make this successful. We're going to communicate back and forth, and we're going to stay connected. Um, yeah, if you say what you want to say, all kinds of words are going to come out that, we might need to do some damage control after that. And I think probably we've all been in that situation. And, nothing's more important than an adult being able to come to their child and be like, you know what? I probably shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. I was upset. There's nothing more important than us being connected. Yes, my feelings were hurt. Yes, I was upset. Yes, I'm bothered that whatever it may be, when we can say what we need to say, we don't have to do so much of that reeling it all back because while it's a good thing for our children to see us as human and fallible, we also want them to see us more often than not controlled and consistent and predictable. That's going to be creating that safe environment. Um, this is just more watching your words. We really want to make the point. There's no point in talking if we just want to make our point and kind of push back. Sometimes conversations almost feel retaliatory, and that's completely counterproductive when the truth is you just want to be connected with your children and you want to be beyond this negative feel into a more safe, connected space. Um, so yeah, people really feel safe when they're with somebody who feels predictable and calm. Some things to avoid in conversation. I don't know if I said it, bringing up the past, that's really going to kind of bury a person in their weight, bury children in their weight. We really want to stay focused on the point. And sometimes, there's context we can have, but bringing up the past is a weapon that we can use against our children. And I know it's a weapon that gets used not intentionally, but unintentionally when emotionality is high and it hurts. And so bringing up the past, we want to stay away from. I think this one about, all or nothing, like if a student feels like they're walking away from a parental engagement that is corrective and they're walking away like, my parent thinks I'm totally that I'm always bad. They never see the good in me. That kind of feeling on a student side comes from words that we could use that are kind of all or nothing instead of, this is this right now. And, our student, we don't need to talk about the past and don't need to talk about always because our students are bright too. They know if they're making a mistake for the 10th time and we're talking about it, bringing up all the other times is not always necessarily a healthy, beneficial engagement style if we really want to connect. Um, yeah. And so I think probably winding down pretty quick here. It's very possible that we're here on this Zoom because we're in a challenging spot with our children. And I am sharing with you common sense things and maybe we were looking for like a fix to the specific problem. I can tell you that the big problems that are happening right now are not going to go away overnight. We all know that we cannot control our children, but we can control ourselves and demonstrate actions and behaviors and styles that are going to give us the highest probability of a positive outcome. If we are demonstrating these communication skills and tools consistently, we're going to still start to foster that safe place for our children. And they still might be crabby and off-putting. It happens, but we can't control their growth curve, their developmental curve. We can just foster the environment for them to grow in. And so it's really, what can I do? I can control myself. I can control the things. I can control my style, body language, tone, etc. Some really good statements that kids really appreciate. I think in the heat of the moment, they need to hear that I'm just trying to understand. I'm listening. Say it to me again. What happened? Because it sounds like this happened. I want to make this better. I think if your kids walk away with nothing else, they walk away knowing that my parents really want to understand and they want things to be better. They want to be helpful. Sometimes they walk away from discipline and that don't feel good, but that's real as well. And we're gonna have all these slides in the we'll make them available too if you wanted to review them. Paraphrasing really helps your student feel like you're trying to understand. So I hear you. What are you saying here? It sounds like you're saying this. Am I correct? And we got to be really careful with paraphrasing because sometimes it's easy to switch into almost a passive aggressive kind of mode, which, right, adults, we slip into that super easy, especially when we're frustrated. Um, I feel statements always super important. Um, people, uh, our kids need to understand that, if we're correcting them, it's not because we enjoy it. It's because we want what's good for them. And then when our relationship isn't going well, and I've asked you to do this in the house a million times, it really feels like you don't. I feel like when this happens, you don't care about what I feel. And I think when we engage with our students on that level, also, it's almost talking to them. They're not your peer, they're not an adult, but you're respecting them as another human being. I think that that is really important. Letting them know you hear them, even if you disagree. Our goal is strictly to come out of a conflict, to come out of feedback, to come out of discipline in a positive space. There are all kinds of things that we can do to inhibit that. Um, Last piece is style. An aggressive style, don't need to talk about it. We understand that we could snap into it. We've all done it before to some sort of a degree. It's only going to cause harm. And we're trying to repair and foster trust and safety. Passive communication, is like the girl in the example. Oh, it's cool, whatever, whatever, doesn't matter. Well, no, it's not cool. Yes, it matters, and we do care. And that's parent narrative or student. It's so easy as well for parents to, because we do have to pick our battles and things we're going to engage on. But there are times when, if we just poo-poo our own feelings, our kids aren't understanding how we're feeling. And so, getting back to those I feel statements, um, not blame, but it makes me feel when this happens a certain way. I know I'm almost done. And then passive aggressive is, slamming doors, being sarcastic. I've been sarcastic before, and all it does is make me feel like bad when I walk away from him because I'm like, I know better than that. We all know better than that, but sometimes it slips out. Um, So assertive is the way to go. Assertive is about being direct, but not coming at our kids. It's just being, hey, can we talk about something? I have a feeling, or hey, I'm concerned about something. Can I ask you some questions? I would say that one of the techniques that I've always tried to use is if at all possible, when I need to tell my students something, frame it as a question only just to give them the opportunity to engage. So help me understand. So I'm wondering why these kinds of shifts really help bring engagement close to each other. Um, we need to listen to each other, and when we're communicating like that, we're letting them know that we're willing to compromise. We don't have, it's not winning, it's just staying connected through conflict or challenging times. I think I'm at a half hour. I'm sorry. When you're assertive, you're being articulate. You're thinking about your words. You're making sure your energy is right. And those are the kinds of people that I want to engage with. I know kids, that's the kind of folks that kids want to engage with, people that are predictable and balanced and consistent. Um, yeah, assertive not the same as aggressive. We know that. I think sometimes assertive might get conflated with that, but assertive is just being direct and being very intensive. Aggressive has emotionality to it. Um, this is, I think I said this already. It's okay to take a break. It's okay to say, I'm really upset right now, and I don't even know how to have this conversation because things come up, right? Um, Sometimes a student will make a decision that's poor and there needs to be consequence. And you're overwhelmed, and the student's like, so what's going to happen now? It's like, I haven't decided yet. I need to think about it. Taking a step back is absolutely appropriate. And that's just another moment where we are showing our students that we're human. I don't know the answers to everything. I don't want to mess up this relationship. It means too much. And I think students need to hear that from us. It's too important for me to be connected. So I might say something really wrong right now. So I need to take a break. This is more about the chemicals when you're thinking, emotions go high, thinking goes low. Mm, Being assertive is essential to communication, direct, for all of us. And, you know, uh, no one is good at healthy communication from the start, and that means no one's good when they're first, second, third grade. And I'll tell you, there's some of us that maybe didn't get there till we were 20 something or 30 something. It's okay to feel like we have a lot to learn. I still have a lot to learn with my children. I'm still deciding, is it really going to help to say that, even though I'm really upset or frustrated? And if I say the things that aren't helpful, that don't foster health, it's not going to be helpful when I need to ask information or I'm curious or how are you doing? I have a feeling something's happening over there. If I don't have that connected relationship with my child, they're not going to lean in and tell me what's going on with their friend groups or with their relationships or with their teachers or with what's going on in the playground because they just don't feel like that's what our relationship is. But we can foster it with these tools we've been talking about. Um, okay. Yeah, this just says emotionality is natural. It's okay. It's really about how we tuck it away and manage it in the moment, take space, bring ourselves down and regulate. Um, that's more about the thinking state. And we want to make sure that we're clear-headed when we're engaging in tricky conversations. Hmm. Yeah, you can take a break all the time. This is, a quote from Plato. Wise men talk because they have something to say. Fools because they have to say something. We don't always have to say something. We can hold back our emotional reactions. There's another one that's slow to speak, quick to listen. And that's something that I would always try to live my life by, especially as a parent. Mm. Being connected is what we talked about. It's essential for our relationships with our children. The talking points, compassionate, empathy. We don't want to be talking to them or having like reprimands or whatever in front of their friends. That's public humiliation, and I can't tell you, as I was growing up, how many parents I saw do that to my friends in front of me. It was bad. Same thing with siblings. Really be sensitive. We all have siblings with their own personalities. I have two very different, and I cannot say, why can't you be a little bit more like this? Haven't you seen how so and so's doing it? You can't do it. That is causing damage. The relationship's incurring damage. Um, and don't worry if it comes out. We're gonna make mistakes. It's okay. Remember that you know all of this already. It's just a matter of, is it ingrained? Is it our second nature? And the more we practice intentionally, it's gonna get there. So that's what I have. I went a little bit long. I could take any kinds of feedback or questions. Hopefully, it was supportive. Again, not rocket science, but it's the stuff that needs to be fundamental with our engagements. Because if we need to have conversations that are about safety, that are about relationships, that are about other adults we're concerned about in our kids' environments or friends, if we're gonna have successful back and forth, they gotta feel safe to respond and be there with us. So if anybody want to come out, I know we have quite a few people. We got a couple of minutes. Dr. Hamilton's got hers coming up too, but any questions before we switch up? All right. Okay. I don't see anything happening. I don't know if things in the chat, but if we want to step over to Dr. Hamilton and I can stay on afterwards if we want to chit chat for other things. I know Dr. Hamilton's flexible. I apologize for taking your time, but
Yeah,
I
that's
think you're up.
No
all
worries.
right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Earl. Oh, we do have, okay, just a thank you.
All right.
So with that said, I am going to share my screen.
Yes, thank you so much, Kay. I'm having some difficulty sharing.
And here we are. Okay, Dr. Hamilton.
All right. So, greetings again. I'm Dr. Hamilton, and this presentation is about bullying prevention and resources. So we'll just go over. The first one is just our vision. And we want to provide an engaging and safe learning environment and help students demonstrate responsibility, achieve academic and social emotional growth, embrace diversity, and make decisions about their college and career success. We have our core values based on learning and achievement, diversity, families as partners, and then collaborative, caring, and exemplary employees. And so our district goals, definitely when we're talking about bully prevention, it attends to goal 2, to cultivate the social emotional well-being of each student, and goal 3, to create a safe, engaging environment where students connect to school. So our objectives is just to have a discussion about what is bullying, or to give some information about bullying, to discuss the 4 types of bullying, and review the bully prevention resources that we have available in NUSD. So our first definition is just what is bullying. Bullying is unwanted, deliberate acts which involve an imbalance of power to cause verbal, emotional, social, and or physical harm. And there are 4 types of bullying, and we'll get into those a little deeper as the presentation goes along. But the 4 types are verbal, physical, social, and cyber. So when we're also talking about bullying, we're talking about unwanted aggressive behavior among school-age children that involves a real or perceived power imbalance. The behavior is repeated or has the potential to be repeated over time, so it doesn't have to be repeated to constitute bullying. It includes actions such as making threats, spreading rumors, attacking someone, physically or verbally, or excluding them from other groups on purpose. And then both kids, those who are bullied and those who are and who bully, may have serious lasting problems. So we try to think of it, not from maybe our own understanding of like, oh, it'll toughen kids up, but really understanding that bullying in this age can have detrimental effects on students' health. So we're really wanting to take any acts of bullying or any inappropriate behavior seriously. So again, the 4 types of bullying, we have cyber, which is using electronic technology, and that can be a cell phone, email, social media sites, tablets, and it can be creating a fake profile, impersonating someone with the intent to threaten, humiliate, or isolate another student. We have verbal, which is saying or writing mean things. Social bullying is sometimes referred to as relational bullying, and that's when you're trying to hurt somebody's reputation or you're trying to isolate them from a group. You're trying to have power over who they can be with or who can interact with them. And then physical is inflicting harm on a person's body or possessions. So some of the warning signs that a child is being bullied is a student may come home with torn, damaged, or missing pieces of clothing, books, or other belongings. And then when you're asking them, well, what haven't happened, they're very vague. They're not giving you much specificity in terms of how the items were damaged. They can have unexplained cuts, bruises, and scratches that don't make sense. Or like I said, again, you're asking them questions and it doesn't, something in you is like, that doesn't sound right, or doesn't really pan out to what the bruise or scratch may be. They would be afraid of going to school, walking to and from school, riding the bus, or taking part in organized activities with peers. And the one thing I want to differentiate is that, if the student is naturally shy, then that might be a portion of that might be part of who they are. But we're really talking about like when you see a change in their behavior. And then takes a long illogical route when walking to and from school. So they're trying to go different routes that they wouldn't normally go. They're trying to avoid their normal path, or they're complaining of frequent headaches, stomach aches, or other physical ailments. So we're really talking about students who are like, okay, there's the avoidance of wanting to be at school, of wanting to go to school, and maybe there's a joy that they had about going to school that now you see has waned, that they're not as excited or engaged about being in school as they once were.
Son of a bitch.
And then the other additional warning signs is they have few, if any, friends with whom they spend time. They may have lost interest in schoolwork, or they may be a good student, and all of a sudden you see that their progress in school is going down, and they're not really doing as well as they were prior to this incident. They may have trouble sleeping or have bad dreams. They may experience a loss of appetite, and they also may appear anxious and suffer from low self-esteem or feeling anxious about going to school, or maybe when they see a group of students, there's some anxiety. Or they may appear sad, moody, teary, or depressed when they come home from school. So these are just some general warning signs. And then what to do if your child is bullying others. And this kind of goes both ways, is to take bullying seriously if your child is bullying others and if your child is being bullied. So a lot of times students will come, young people will come to us and they'll say such and such is behaving in this manner. And what we really want is for adults to take that behavior seriously. It may rise to the level of bullying, it may not, but really being interested in what is happening and how you can help that young person really navigate this situation. And then teaching kids to treat others with respect and kindness. And then also for those who are being bullied, just to remind them that, you did nothing wrong. Like you are not, there's nothing about you that's wrong. It's just that students are in different spaces. Students may have different trauma that they're coming to school with. And so, but just reminding them that, we want to treat others how we want to be treated or how they want to be treated, and with respect and kindness. Another important thing is to learn about your child's social life. So who are the people that your students or young people are hanging out with? And it doesn't mean that they can't have, that everyone is going to have the same background or same life experience. But if you're noticing that they're hanging around with folks that are maybe not really making good choices, then that's something to be aware of. And then encourage good behavior, right? So just because a student is being bullied doesn't mean that they should then change their behavior. If they're a good student, encourage them to continue to follow their positive path, and that you will work with them to resolve the issue. And then also, most importantly, is communicate with the school, because a lot of times parents will say, my student is having an issue and we really want to be a partner with you and your student, but we can't do that if we don't know what's happening. So some of the bullying prevention and resources that we have is, well, first of all, we had a steering committee that helped create a lot of the resources that we have available. We do have an online bullying prevention information and resources. So on our website, there is a whole page dedicated to resources, how to report online bullying, and then additional resources that you can find about bullying. We also have the bully prevention manual. And Kay, if you want to click on the bully prevention manual so we can show folks. So this is also available on our website. And really what it does is give you information in terms of like the different types of bullying. One of the areas that we really wanted to focus on was bullying versus normal peer conflict, because I think our language really goes straight to bullying, but sometimes it may be just normal peer conflict. It doesn't mean that it's still acceptable behavior, but we really want to be clear when we're able to describe what is going on with our young people. The next page just talks about our bullying prevention policies that we have with the district, and then the procedures when a student may come to you and say, hey, this is happening. And one of the most important things we want is to decide if the behavior is bullying. And so we kind of list some information that can help you determine on the next page, like, okay, so let's talk through this situation, right? And how do I know the difference? And that's why we have consider the following questions. Is the behavior repetitive? What is the history between the students involved? So it might be that the two students are friends and they have a mutual, like a equal power. And then it may end up being that it does turn into a bullying case. Or, we never know. It could be the other way around, that those students may really be trying to get closer to each other. And, young people, they're trying to figure out how to navigate their feelings, so they may be using a negative route. And so how do we help them just use more positive strategies? And then the other things is just parent resources and student resources that are available for parents to look through, and they talk about bullying, and then also resources about being an upstander and a bystander, and what's the difference between that. So we have that available for parents and students, and we really encourage you to go through it with your student and talk about those uh, different types of bullying and what is available to them. Okay. The next thing we have is we talked about the bullying versus normal peer conflict, and that's a part of the bullying manual, and that just really does a side-by-side comparison of, is it bullying behavior or is it normal peer conflict? And again, we say normal peer conflict doesn't excuse it. It still needs to be addressed if it's an inappropriate behavior, but we just want to be able to talk about, is this actually bullying? Does it fit the criteria for bullying, or is it just a conflict that needs to be addressed between two students? Okay, and then the most important thing is that each site has clear rules for student conduct and strategies to promote a positive school climate. All of our staff who have interaction with students are trained, and there's a picture of the bullying module on the right. So every adult goes through that, and it explains bullying, explains strategies. So they have that in their wheelhouse. Then we can go to the next slide. And this California Ed Code 234.1 is that school staff who witness an act of bullying against a student to immediately interfere to stop the incident when it is safe to do so in accordance with Education Code 234.1. So all adults are encouraged, if it's safe to do so, to interfere. So the idea is, if they see an act of bullying, that they're not just going to look the other way. Also, though, we want to encourage students to report the incident. We have an online reporting incident form, and that is anonymous. So that you can put in as much information or less amount of information, but the more information that you put in there, the easier it is for principals to not resolve the conflict. It goes specifically to the principals. The principals get it with the information they have, then they investigate, and all of those reports must be resolved. So they're not going somewhere in a circular file. They really are being addressed, and we really do take them seriously. So if you want to just click on it so we can see on our website, it's in English and Spanish, so anybody can go there and report if you want to report for your student, or the student can report, and it does go directly to the principal. And my job also is to follow up on those bullying reports and make sure that every one of them is resolved. So. And then just lastly, if there's any questions, definitely, if we may have some time for some questions now. And, going forward, remember that you have your school site as a resource, your principal, your teacher, the playground assistants, the SCLs. There's a lot of folks on campus who can assist you. And then also, if you need a thought partner, that, to try to talk through, like, is this bullying? Is this peer conflict? How can I navigate? How can I help my student, resolve it positively? Then we're here for that as well. So we have some time for questions, comments, concerns, if anybody wants.
Thank you, Dr. Hamilton. And I also wanted to point out that I sent over a link to the manual, as well as the report bullying. Oh, and then Abby has a question. She says, what kind of services do our children have when they witness fights at school, especially for our who have sensitive mindsets?
Yeah, so they have their teachers as a resource. They have the playground assistants. We have school climate liaisons who visit schools. We have social workers. If they're in secondary or high school, there's counselors. So there's a lot of mental health resources that they can seek out. They can help them deal with some of those fights. Because yes, even though they may not be involved in the fight, it may have an impact on them as well. So we do have mental health resources that are available. And if they don't know who those resources are, they can, like I said, reach out to their teacher, principal, any adult on campus.
And then if anyone else has a next question, but before that, I dropped a link to a survey if you can just fill that out. All right. And then does anyone else have a question? Drop it in the chat, or if you want to ask, we have some minutes before we're set to end.
Is there anything that anyone was expecting or hoping from tonight that you maybe didn't get that we can take note of?
Okay, so Abby is asking, can we send information to links or emails of counselor per school site? And Shauna's asking, how can I get access to Earl slides?
And
Um,
then who is Abby at? Abby, what school?
Abby, Abby, which school does your children or your child go to? See, I don't have that. Abby, would you be able to tell us which school? Bannon Creek.
Bannon Creek. Okay. So for Bannon Creek, your social worker is Tara. Your psychology, you have a psychologist there. It's Mariana Dominguez. And so those are your mental health social, support systems.
Okay. And
I'm putting my thing in the chat.
Yeah,
okay.
Like,
both of them are great.
Thank you, Abby. And then Earl's going to drop. There you go. There are his slides. And then Lindsay asks, I would have really liked to get examples of how to do all the things Earl Paveo talked about in each slide.
would love to have a conversation. Would that be like, kind of practice or discuss scenarios on how you would utilize those kinds of approaches? I'm wondering if that's what it might be.
Can we unmute?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, for like each slide, instead of like just listing to us, like listing each slide, what that little conversation, would have been with our child. Like, oh, if your kid says this, you could say this. So like in the words that would be appropriate, or in that the healthy verbiage, or because so what I've learned just from my son, and he's only 6, and it's like just a few words tweaked
Mhm.
that like make the world a difference. And it's just such a relearning of a lot of things. So I think that would really benefit probably a lot of parents, and I'm still learning. So a lot of stuff you said was I just kept wondering, like, oh, how would I say that? Well, like how, and so it would have been helpful to have examples of stuff you said.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy to set a meeting if we wanted to do a Zoom and we can kind of go through slides and like see which slides kind of pop, like how would I do that? And we can kind of brainstorm different ways to approach it, utilizing a certain like communication tool and or keeping it, how do I communicate something that's like this but keeping this other thing in mind? I don't want this to happen, right? So I would definitely be happy with that. If you wanted to, I could put my email in, and we could I don't know if we can do it through Parent University, do like a more of a just a follow-up on student communicate with our students. I think that would be great. Okay.
Yeah, that would be, yeah.
Be like building on like each skill that we get
Yeah.
exposed to with this. And I'm just, if it's not just me, it probably would help everyone else too.
For sure. For sure. I think that's, I mean, how do you communicate how much you love your child when you're really furious? You know, you got to be able to figure out how to communicate it at the same time or in the same engagement. And, it's different for 6-year-olds than 13 and 15 and 16-year-olds. And so I put my email in the chat. I can talk to Kay about maybe we schedule in a week or two just to kind of do a deeper dive. But maybe Lindsay or you or a couple of folks would want to get together and like pre-plan, like, hey, let's put together a slide deck that's a little bit more built out around these areas. Definitely could do that.
Okay. And then I got another question from a parent. How much bullying awareness do our children get at school? This is such a big issue with our youth and is very important to be taught to our youth in so many ways.
Okay. Well, I know they're doing second step and base, so that definitely addresses positive relationship, kindness. October is Bully Prevention Month, so they should be getting information about a bully-free and drug-free campus. So in the social emotional support curriculum that they are exposed to, they're getting that as well.
And then Preeti is asking, how do I address my first grader talking about dating?
How's that popping up? What's it sound like? You can come off mute if you would like to, and we can chat about it. We still have a couple minutes.
It's just random and he keeps on talking about it. And my husband being a cop, he's really furious. He wants to get her out of school now and put her in
Uh,
another school.
Yeah, well, I think it probably is about, encouraging good friendships and your first grader. It's probably really good to maybe understand like what does dating mean to you, or like understanding what their assumptions are and beliefs are, and then encouraging everything about good friendships. But I could imagine as a parent, I mean, we know what if we're talking about dating, which means different than a friendship in first
That's
grade.
and it's scary that
Lead.
she just turned 7. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
You're
She
okay.
knows the meaning of dating.
Yeah.
It's really scaring us.
No, I think that it's okay to lay down black and white expectations for social contact with your children. I mean, rules of how we treat other people, and but friendships are great. It's just what is, it would be really good for you guys to start talking about what it is that she wants. That's not what we're gonna do right now, not in first grade. And those are that's at a different level, and very kind of candid about that, encouraging friendships, but really encouraging your expectations on behavior, social behavior, and engagement with, you know, peers in like already talking about a romantic kind of way.
That's what we had that conversation about it. And she's like, yeah, he wants to take me out for a date and week this and that. And I'm like, I think you're still young. You guys can be friends. I'm okay with that. But I think you're still young for that right now. What we need to do is concentrate in your activities and school.
That sounds great.
But it's scary because we had her in basketball. She decides to do it for like 3 months and she's like, I don't like it. We totally agreed. We put her in gymnastic. Same thing, she lasted for a month and it's like forcing her. Like, you gotta practice to stand up. And she said, no, I don't want to do gymnastic now.
Well, I think that it's okay also. I mean, I had to do this as well. I mean, and I think you're kind of saying two things at once. My child is interested in dating, and we're trying to keep our child busy with activities. I think it makes a lot of sense that, we're active people. So you don't want to do that? Okay. So what is it going to be? because hanging out playing video games all day after school not going to be an option.
Right.
Oh, and if they don't want to make a choice, then it's like, okay, well, this is what we're going to do. I mean, as a parent, you are kind of laying out your expectations and, oh, but I don't want to go to soccer. Yeah, well, you're not making another choice because you could probably, as a parent, list 20 things we can make a choice to do. If she doesn't want
Right.
to do any of them, as a parent, you're still have that responsibility in yourself to say, hey, I need to keep my child active, moving, lots of social engagement. So I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, we did soccer, was like they didn't really like it the last number of years they were playing soccer, but I was like, okay, cool. You want to go play an instrument? No. Do you want to go play baseball? No. Basketball? No. Okay, cool. So soccer, that's what we're doing. And at a certain point, like junior high, I mean, you stop forcing. I think it was sixth grade was when it ended, but it was like you're kind of teaching healthy life practices.
Okay.
Okay, one last question and then we'll end. So Abby is asking, how do you talk about identity within peers and boundaries, especially in fourth graders?
And what kind of idea? What are we referring to specifically, Abby?
I would say like that identity in regards to genders, you know, he, she, them, her. So it's just a lot of like my child comes home and talks about like meeting new students, and I understand that, some more comfortable and open in regards of their identity, but I just feel like for a fourth grader, you should be more worried about learning in school instead of talking about that type of issues.
Well, probably one of the more hot topic issues in our culture right now. I don't think that I can tell you the right answer. What I could tell you is you need to go with your gut as a parent on what you think is right. I think that we all embrace cultures and diversity, and we want to love everyone, and we want our children to grow up to be who they need to be. And I think that some families would say, what do you want to? They make a choice now. Some families say you don't have to make a choice right now. Some families be like, hey, that's great for them. You do you. You be who you need to be. When you have a child, when we have a child who wants to identify as something other than maybe what they're assigned at birth, that is a very personal thing with a family that I respect. I see passion in both ends of the spectrum when looking at rearing children. So I don't have a right one on that one. I could just share generally that it's something that I had in my family that I had to have conversations with, and I didn't want to go. It's a very difficult thing to be overbearing on one end and overly permissive on the other end because all I want to do is make sure that my child knows that I love them. But still, we have I think ethic that we have that we bring to our own family that's different from family to family. And I mean, there's people have a different kind of moral compass that's not going bad here, better here. It's just different. So I wish I had a better answer.
Okay, thank you everyone. And if you can, again, just fill out the survey and we will be hopefully setting something up with Earl as you all have expressed that you'd
Yeah.
like a deep dive. All right, thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks so much.
Bye. Thank you.